To me, it screams of just like opening up your quest log in Elder Scrolls Morrowind and being like, it was Dusk Star AD 2090, and the hermit crab had 4 gold nuggets, and you're like, this is a merchant 10 years ago. Is that what that is? Where's my Brady Games strategy guide?
You're like, wait, come again? What was that now?
That's what I'm doing, that in the middle of a fight with a giant ferret wearing pajamas. I'm like, wait, I think I need my schlibbity DVD, hibbity hoobity.
Hello and welcome everybody to a very special episode of TCS. This is our Biomutant. I was going to try and come up with a pun about it, but this is our
Should you bio it?
Should you Biomutant? Should you Biomutant? This is our long form discussion. We're going to keep it reasonably spoiler free, right? We can do that.
Yeah, if I accidentally just reveal spoilers, can you just edit it out?
No, absolutely not. I don't edit the podcast once at all. So there might be spoilers, there might not be. But this is going to be our sort of thoughts on the game, the things we liked about it, the things we didn't like about it. We'll give sort of our final say on it as well. Before we do kick off, I do want to say that THQ did provide us codes for Biomutant, so thank you so much THQ for that as well. Really appreciate it. So that they, bit of context to everyone who's watching, we were provided free copies of the game.
Yes.
Good.
Now I don't what is the context? Did they just say here are keys and just do a review?
Yeah, THQ is one of the only companies that we have a good relationship with. So they sort us out, which is really good. So appreciate that in a big way, THQ. So we've been playing Biomutant for a couple of weeks now, and we've had mixed thoughts on it. Let me preface. I was very excited for Biomutant before it came out. I've been excited for this game for quite a few years. I did get a chance to play a preview of it a few years ago, which was quite different to the final product that we ended up playing. But I have been excited for this game for years. The marketing for it made me super intrigued. The concept, the design, the little squirrel, rodent creature things, everything about it, I was like, you know what, this looks really, really cool. So when it finally came out, I was very excited to be able to jump in and play it. I don't know about you. Were you anticipating this one as well?
No, I forgot about it.
Okay.
I was excited about it when it was revealed, and I had just gotten so out of, until starting, really getting involved with you and your work, I had not been following games media as much.
Yeah, sure.
So I forgot about the game. And when I saw it on the store, I was like, oh my God, I remember this. I want to play this. And that's why it came up in the previous podcast where I was like, oh my God, I want to play this.
Yeah.
So all I really remembered from the original stuff was that it would be a big open world game with these cool little creatures that have guns, and I was like, I'm in. That's all I needed to hear.
Pretty much, right? Yeah, and that's what it was. The only other thing I will say as well before we kick off is that neither of us have actually rolled credits on the game, right? That's it's probably fair to point out.
No, I'm not. I haven't completed it all the way. I'm planning to, though. I'm planning to get the platinum on it and then do a little platinum review, kind of like the Knockout City deal. But I'm about 20. I'm officially 23% in on the trophies and over 20 hours of gameplay now.
So 20 hours of gameplay. I'm a little bit less than George in terms of gameplay time, but I think it's still, while the story isn't concluded, it's probably not one of the strongest things in the game anyway, but while that's not concluded, I think this gives us enough of a grasp to understand probably, I'd say 99% of the mechanics and things in the game as it progresses. I don't think it's going to change too much more that last part of the game.
In terms of what I've unlocked, I have the automaton upgrades all done. I've visited all the biomes. I've defeated some of the world bosses, and I've taken over. I have the outpost trophies unlocked.
Yeah.
So I've beaten 3 of the Sifus.
So
You know,
you've been doing a lot of side stuff, whereas I've just been powering
I
in
do
this much.
everything. That's how I play open world games.
Yeah,
So if something
yeah.
comes up, I just do it immediately. So I've got a lot of hours in, but official storyline, I think I have what is the old man's name? Like old man River,
I've
the
been
characters.
literally skipping everything, so I don't know. I've skipped every
It's
cutscene, and I
the
just
old guy, the old rodent man
yeah, yeah, I know who you
who is
mean.
like your guy. He's
The
sitting at the world tree. It's like
Sure,
old legs or something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Badly, yeah, yeah. Anyway,
Old man Jenkins. He's just sitting at the world tree waiting for me to show up. It's in one of those spots where he's gonna progress the story,
hmm
but I'm just avoiding it and going to every biome,
hmm
upgrading my resistances through the bio points, and then going into like the cold zone, the hot zone, the rad zone, exploring all the manholes.
yep.
Just trying to feel as much stuff about the game as
Yeah,
I can.
get a
You
good
know,
vibe for it. So well, let's explain what the game is, and then we can start going into some various things. The Biomutant, I would say, it's a confused game. I think it's an action adventure game, or it wants to be a third person action adventure game. I think that's what it generally is at its core, but it creeps into some other aspects as well. It's got quite heavy third person shooting mechanics. It's got a lot of quite deep RPG mechanics and crafting and weapon changing of weapons and items and things like that. So it sits somewhere between a traditional action adventure game and an RPG. Is that fair?
yeah, if I had to just pick other games, like when I'm looking at it and its face, I'm thinking maybe Horizon Zero Dawn
Mm-hmm.
with rodents. But then it becomes Mass Effecty a little bit when it's
Yeah,
like
choices.
upgrade your skills,
Yeah,
but then also in these conversations make light or dark decisions, and then do all these side quests that take you to distant lands that look
yeah.
different. So and then I get a little bit of did you ever play like Jade Empire? There's a lot of
Sure.
like Eastern influence
Oh,
in
definitely.
it.
Yeah, big time.
So games like games set in that. I'm trying to think of another game that's similar to Jade Empire that has like a Shenmue almost, where it's
Shenmue.
like
Yeah,
got a
yeah,
lot
that's
of
fair.
you
So
know.
comping it against Horizon is good. I think God of War maybe as well, because it's not a
Mhm.
full open world like Horizon. It's a closed open world, a lot more like the new God of War game is. Um,
Mhm.
like linear open world, I guess is like
Yeah.
maybe a way of saying it, because there is backtracking and stuff that happens, but it's not just wide. Um,
Right.
but it's really important to preface what we're saying. All the games we've mentioned so far do it
Radically different.
better. They do it better, right? I mean,
Yeah.
without being an ass or anything like that, God of War and Horizon are on different level to this game, completely different level. This game is a double A game too. It's made by I don't know who the developer is, published by THQ Nordic. They do sit in that double A mid space, so manage expectations with that. And I think we went into it with managed expectations that we were getting that sort of double A tier game, but I think I wasn't expecting it to be this. I wasn't expecting to get what I got. If I'm going to give a bit of a summary on it, and then we'll roll to you as well. I think this game has a lot of challenges with its identity. I think it doesn't quite know what it wants to be, from quite a deep RPG with quite complex RPG mechanics, to an open world game, to a hack and slash game, to a third person shooter, to an action adventure game, to a Mass Effect style choice system, to a good and evil system. It has so many mechanics in it that overcomplicate this game far more than it needs to. It just doesn't need half of the stuff that it has in there, and it would still be very good. So I think it's a very, very confused title. And then I think, given it is a double A styled game, it was probably under quite severe budget constraints too. This game did end up in sort of a bit of a development hell for a number of years, where it went. It was coming out in 2017. It was coming out in 2018. It was coming out in 2019. It went completely quiet in 2020, and then suddenly it's revealed and it's coming out again in like a month's time, and it's up in 2021. Obviously, it came out. So I think this game probably struggled with direction from a development perspective and ended up suffering in the process. I imagine, again, like I said, double A means limited budget. They wouldn't have just had buckets of money to throw at this thing. So they would have been dealing with, hey, how do we get ourselves out of this situation we're in with the limited resources that we have? and this is the final product. Now, that's not to say that the entire game's bad, so I don't want this to be the part where you guys click off the video thinking Josh hates the game. I don't hate the game. I think the game has a lot of stuff going for it well, but it does have a lot of challenges too. Yeah.
Right. I agree with most of those points, and when I originally started the game, honestly, I was having a hard time to continue it. But as I unlocked more of the world, I came to like a middle ground for it. Now, from my perspective, and this is how I do all games, I don't read game reviews. I think they can ruin my experience. Mm-hmm. So like I actually had no idea how this was reviewed or who reviewed it, and I intentionally ignored YouTube videos from creators that I like that do games. But
there's an irony in that. Can I just say there's an irony in that you avoid reviews and now you're making them.
Well, I avoid them so I don't give somebody else's opinion. It's easy to hear someone's opinion and then it becomes your own.
100%.
And then you sound like a jerk just saying what ACG already said.
I don't watch reviews because I like to form my own opinion about a thing before. Anyway, it's not because of the copying thing per se. It's more just because I prefer to make up my own mind about something rather than have someone else tell me what it should be.
Yeah. I've been that way about games. For movies that I'm never gonna watch, I like channels like Dead Meat and other stuff like that where they just go over.
Are you self-promoting in this video? Are you self-promoting?
No, I wish I were. But like even on Twitch, I really won't watch other Twitch channels that are in the same space as mine because I just don't want to subconsciously lift ideas from them.
That's fair.
And for that same reason, like when the big media press was going out about how the game did, I just avoided it all so I could really get my own opinion at it because I don't want to parrot Sterling or ACG or any of the other ones. So like as I got further into the game, it was almost backwards. I came up with negatives in my mind I didn't like and started to add positives the deeper I got into the game. And like right off the bat, I just in general like open world games like this. I think if the game had gotten edited down into something that was offered more like an Assassin's Creed, where you have different types of things you do when you go here and there, this would be a fine game. I would really like it a lot more if it just had a little bit of editing to it. Sure. And I think the enemies are designed well, almost to where it's like spooky sometimes. Like some of the tar creatures with the white glowing eyes in the day-night cycle jump out at. And I'm like, oh. And then some of the mini bosses have really cool designs. They all look different. Some of them are like ferrets with pajamas on. And I'm like, this is some creative stuff. I like this. The biomes look really cool when you get into the snow zone, the rad zone, all of it. Like once you start moving into it and your resistance meter is ticking up and it's like, hey, you need to get in and get out or you're going to start taking damage over time to this radioactive stuff. I really enjoyed those. And the boss fights that I got through were good. They were cool boss fights. Like when you got to when you get the Mechton and you're going through the hypoxia zone, it's really cool because all of a sudden you go from like kung fu to in a mech, which to your previous point about maybe editing the game down a little bit, all of a sudden we're in Mech Assault. We're in Titanfall all of a sudden upgrading our Titans. And then at first, I was really enamored with the depth of the systems, of the RPG and the crafting and all of that. And then over time, I was just getting worn out by it. When it's like, get some more points to upgrade dual wielding and then get some points to get new gun skills, I was like, why do I need to do all of this?
It's a lot of points required.
It's so many points. Yeah. So like, at first, I really liked that. Over time, I was just like, this is just too much stuff to be dealing with. You get a level up and you got to do stats. Then you got to do your bio points. Then your thinker points for your sight skills. Then you got to do your upgrade points. That's 4 different things. And none of that like directly correlates too much to your like direct gameplay of like shooting or fighting. Like you need to craft better weapons for that. So it's just very overwhelming. There's so much stuff.
Overwhelming is a fantastic word to describe, I think, this game, especially the early hours of the game when you first booted up. I was so taken aback when I started the game, and before I even moved the character, I've been introduced to so many different systems, from character customization, deciding what your stats are, what kind of class you're going to play as, what the benefits of that are, what kind of weaponry you're going to play with and use, a good and evil system, determining karma, quite deep RPG mechanics in terms of specking out your character. And that's before you even get to move your main character. It becomes incredibly overwhelming from that perspective.
Yeah, like as soon as you start, you are introduced to that, and then you're having flashbacks,
Yeah.
and then you're meeting new characters in the past time,
Yeah.
and then um you have
You talking about
conscious
Elvis? You talking about Elvis?
well, not that, not yet. That's on my
Okay,
cons
we'll get to
list.
Elvis later. Yeah.
But it's so deep that there's a separate aura system for when you're in the past, and the game is acknowledges that it's confusing, and it's like, look, child aura is different. When you're a kid, it's not the same as when you're an adult, and people may react to you differently based on your child aura, but
Yeah.
it can be different, and your aura locks away some of the skills you can get, which,
It's
by the way, you need a certain amount of light aura to get a skill for one of the trophies,
Oh, really?
technically making it missable.
I actually didn't
Yeah.
know that. Okay, that's interesting to know as well.
You need to
That's
have
strategic.
at least 30 light points to do key lightning, which you need 20 kills with.
I want to go back to your first point about the character design, because I think that's one of the things that the game does best. I think the characters look really good between the main
Yeah.
characters, the
Yeah.
NPCs, the enemies, the pets, the bosses. I think they've done such a big job at fleshing out that world, and I think that's what they probably started with, is this idea, or this love child idea of this biomutant world where basically humans are gone, animals have mutated with humans to create these biomutant creatures that are kind of these cute sort of squirrel creatures that have like gun belts and ammo belts, and they look like mages and all sorts of crazy stuff. And they invested a huge amount of time into that, and they've done such a good job with it. I think I couldn't criticize, I don't think, any of that at all, really. Some of the animations are not quite right, but I don't think that has
Yeah.
anything to do with character design.
That was my nitpick in terms of the way the characters look. They look beautiful until something like you get stuck in a tar pit. And if you throw an enemy in a tar pit,
Yeah.
they just slowly sink like this while they move forward. Or you see some stuff move around like this.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's not supposed to happen.
Not quite right. But that's where I think
You
the
know.
double A game design, or game expectations fits in, because I expect that from a double A game. But the way this has been marketed, the way this has been promoted, it's like they're trying to make it seem like it's a triple A game, even though it's actually, in reality, it's not. It is a more budget.
I didn't
title.
know it was double A.
Yeah, I mean, I just
solely
assumed
because
that because THQ, that's their space.
well, in my mind, I grade the quality of the game generally by what they're asking you to pay for it. This is a full price game.
Which is a full price game. Yes, that's fair as well. And I think
Yeah.
that's another massive discrepancy in it, is that they are asking that full price, and I don't think it is a full price title. I mean, this gets into a similar challenge to what you and I had with Returnal, right? Where Returnal was clearly not a sort of AAA Horizon Forbidden West or Ratchet situation. This is a mid-tier game from Sony, but they're still asking full retail price, and it could be a next gen thing. Biomutant fits into that same gap. Don't know why, but I would have said the same as you. Maybe if they'd asked a slightly lower asking price, people's expectations may have been slightly different going into it.
Absolutely. Yeah, when you see the $60 price point, because this technically is a PS4 game, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So it's a PS4 game, full price $60. You think, oh, I'm getting the real deal.
Yeah.
But if I looked at it and I paid maybe 30 for this,
Yeah.
maybe even 40, I'd be like, this is a good experience.
Yeah.
But the $60 price point, after playing what I did, is kind of not. It's a little too much for me.
Yeah. I agree, and
but
we're both on the same page with that.
Yeah, but another pro that I just wanted to hit
Yeah,
before
go.
we lost it is that updates are coming out quickly for this game.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, there's already been major title updates. There was a day one update, and a lot of the complaints that I had prior to shooting this video have
Yeah.
already been addressed with patch updates. There's already been POI updates. There's been all kinds of quality of life updates. One of my biggest issues is the narrator, and this big patch that just rolled out allows me to really tune down the amount of narrator that's in the game.
So,
I mean, for me,
do
it
you
was
want to?
bad.
Yeah. Oh, the narrator is probably my biggest criticism on the game as well. And no offense to the guy who voiced it or anything like that. That's a big challenge. So, what does this patch do for the narrator?
There's optional sliders that lower the frequency,
Uh-huh.
and then you can pick one language or the other,
Ah, that's good.
like the gibberish or
Yeah.
the other, and then you can turn down the volume
Okay, so that's
on the narrator.
that's a good thing. So I've been skipping everything. Any chance I have to skip stuff, I'll skip stuff to the point where I don't know what's going on necessarily, just because I don't want to hear it or it's on mute, which means it's not a very fun experience either. So this is a big problem with the game, and I've seen other people criticize this too. So I think maybe we'll spend a bit of time on the narrator, because the way that, do you want to explain how it works in terms of voice act? Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so there's actually no English language voice acting for the main character or any other characters. All of the animals within the world of Biomutant speak a gibberish type talk, a chipmunkian gibberish.
Yeah.
And a narrator translates everything they say, and it's this glib old white guy voice.
Slow.
That yeah, and it's almost
Very
like
slow.
you know, when they're reading the book in Never-Ending Story, you know, or maybe Princess Bride, when they're doing the narration in Princess Bride. That's how I feel, because every time you do something, it just goes, and it goes, he says he wants to sell you a bomb. And like it does that all the time. And in random moments of exploration, it'll be like, the sun grows down and day comes to break. You should find a place to rest. And I'm like, can you stop talking to me? Like, I don't want this. Like, stop. I'm just trying to be immersed in this world, and I don't want my grandpa leaning over my shoulder telling me what's going on in the game. I see what's going on in the game. It's so, like you said, you were just skipping everything. I played on mute. So like all of the sound design and all of that nice little sound work they did,
missed out,
thrown out the window because of the narrator being so intrusive to the experience. I would have been just fine with just gibberish and translation in text, in subtitle. I watch anime with subtitles.
For sure.
All right, let's not start this fight. All right, but but I would have just been fine with gibberish and then, you know,
text and no narration.
Sell me a gun.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Like that's normal for an RPG or a game with those kind of systems, and you kind of expect to be able to like read the text. The problem was I would read the text while the gibberish was going on and get halfway through, and then the narrator kicks in and I'm like, oh, I haven't finished the sentence yet. And then he starts talking over me. I have no idea what's going on. I can't read it and listen to him at the same time. It's like, it's a whole thing. But he's incredibly slow. They
tweak that speed in which he comes in too.
Okay, well that's a thing. I mean,
I'd have to double check it, but I believe that was in the patch notes.
I believe he is one of the worst parts of the game. I think he single-handedly has ruined the experience for me for this game, which I know sounds very silly because it's a small part of a much bigger experience, but because of how intrusive it is, how much stop-starting there is with the narration, how slow and kind of unenthusiastic it comes across. It's kind of like a Peter Dinklage in Destiny 1. Like doesn't, it's like very much seems phoned in, but I don't believe it is from this guy. I think he just recorded so much dialogue for this game, like hundreds of 60 70 hours of dialogue probably, right? If not more. I would assume. So, you know, it's a massive challenge I have. The other issue I have with the narrator is that it doesn't have a set perspective. Sometimes it's talking from a first-person perspective. Sometimes it's narrating from a third-person perspective. Sometimes it's like he's your Tinkerbell companion translating what the person is saying, but it constantly changes perspective from the narrator talking as if he's breaking the fourth wall, communicating with you. Sometimes it's him translating it, and then I don't understand the constant switching of perspectives. I'm sitting there, and 1 second he's doing this, the next he's doing this, and I'm like, I don't understand this storytelling. I'm losing my mind because of the way they. Did you notice that?
I did.
It's
I
not
started to
normal,
get
right?
well, it was for us, like when we talked about this right after I started playing the game, I just said the narrator, right? And you're like, oh my God, the narrator. Before even talking about this, we were just like, why did they do this to us? Because like at a base level, it's a very simple story. It's
Yeah,
not
it's not
a
complicated at
story
all.
that needs someone that's like, he actually means it's actually Exxon. It's not what it is. Like, you don't need to tell us that, because it's the world tree is dying from pollution. Go around, unite the tribes, get rid of the pollution.
Yeah,
The monsters are pollution monsters.
more or
And
less.
you're like, all right, I get it. I'm in.
Yeah,
Even kids understand that.
yeah.
It's not like, and it's not a thing that breaks the game if you don't understand it. You still do the quests and just go fight stuff. And without the narrator holding your hand and just leaning over your shoulder and being like, you can't breathe here. Like, I see that. I see that I can't breathe here. Like, I'm dying. I'm losing health. I'm just gonna leave, you know. Or take the gibberish out. One or the other. And that's what this latest patch did.
Yeah,
But
sure.
it's like, don't show me both. One or the other. I would prefer the gibberish.
But can you think of another anything film, television show, game where they've got this constantly changing perspective in terms of narration, where like the same voice is telling you tooltips basically on how to play the game. They're translating dialogue. They're also saying, "Hey, have you considered this?" and talking directly to you. I mean, and also telling the story, which is like above you, like you're not aware of what they're saying at some points. Like they're not always talking to the character. Sometimes they're talking to the player. Sometimes it's the character. I don't understand it. It breaks my brain.
no, it's I mean, maybe like in Twilight, Bella Swan is just always narrating her own thoughts over the movie all the time.
Yeah.
It's similar to that, where it's like, I can just see you do the thing. You don't have to also tell me what your brain is thinking. You let me make that connection as a viewer or player, and the story becomes more engaging. You don't just have to read it at me.
See, I was
You know,
the only thing I could come up with Kirsten Bell in Gossip Girl, doing the voiceover for that. But even that's
yeah,
done
maybe
properly. So
Goodfellas, maybe the voiceovers in Goodfellas.
yeah,
You know,
I don't know. I think the narration is a huge problem for me, and it's good to hear that they're fixing it. Obviously, that was a massive criticism of the game, so it means that they've listened and they're like, "Yep." But I don't know how they didn't have someone test play that game, play it, and pick that up. It happens it's very jarring very early. I'd say if you play for an hour, you've had more than enough of the narrator at that point. Surely they must have picked that and been like, oh, this doesn't make sense.
right? Yeah, but like for me, the game got better after that point, right?
But he's
Which
still
means,
there.
yeah, but your first experience is just, this is bad, and an old man is just telling me what everything is. But then once I was like 10 hours in, I'm like, that's not too bad. I like this. This is decent. Like, I plan on finishing it
Is that
and doing
Stockholm
the platinum
syndrome
trophy.
though?
Yeah, I've been brainwashed.
Like because you've spent so much time with it now, you're just like, all right, this is just how things are now.
No, actually, no. Like, I think well, I don't know if anyone who has Stockholm syndrome would be like, no, I don't have Stockholm syndrome. But but once I was able to go out and actually enjoy, and then I also started playing with audio off.
Yeah, that helps.
Literally, it made the experience much better. But I actually found myself being like, oh, I can't get into the cold zone without the cold suit. Let me go get the cold suit. Oh, I got to run through the fire zone on my way there, and I can do all of this and that. And then I started upgrading my resistances, and once I slotted the skills I wanted, like, fighting got really cool because I figured out the super wushu, what is it called? The super mechanic, where you do the special attacks, the unique special attacks.
Special attacks, basically, yeah.
Yeah, once I figured out that system and got to fighting with like the slow-mo and the chain lightning and all of that, found myself enjoying the combat a lot better because earlier in the game, I'm just standing away and just
basic.
like, I'll shoot you 100 times.
Which class did you play as?
I picked one of the mage classes, but
okay.
I don't know the difference.
I picked the soldier with the like heavy on third person shooting, basically.
Yeah, I don't. What does it just affect what starting stats you have? Because then you can just slide the stats too, right?
Yeah, you can. I think you can alter your character after a while anyway. It doesn't really.
So that's what I did. Was I picked the like the psyops or psy class, but then just made it a balanced character.
Yeah.
And then because there's a trophy for getting 100 stat in 2 categories, I just leveled up vitality aggressively and speed aggressively until those were over 100. So now I'm just like really fast running around. I don't do too much punchy damage, but I can do a lot of wizard damage.
Yeah, sure.
Blue damage. And that's once you get those skills, it does get a lot better. What I was going to say earlier is that if your only exposure is 1 or 2 hours in and then you cut the game off, you're just going to hear the narrator talk a lot and be like, I can't do this. This is just a podcast. I don't want to listen to this.
Those first few hours, it's like a Hideo Kojima game almost, right? Where like you're playing for like 10 minutes out of 2 hours of exposition and cutscenes and stuff.
Like the first thing I did was get knocked into tar and not understand that I was just going to sink to my death. And he's like, you can't stand in there for long. And I was like, what? I was like, what is this?
The first few hours of that game are so rough. And I think that's where a lot of people are they're not going to be able to get past that initial part of the game to like George said, actually get into it. I think when the game starts, the game is competent enough. It does things well enough in terms of combat, exploration. The quests are a little bit repetitive, but it's all competent. Like it works. It's caked around this story, which is also fine. I think it's bloated. I think it's convoluted a little bit. It's too much. There's too much lore there. I've got a theory for that though. But it all works. It's just those first few hours are tough. In the first few hours, is this a good time to talk about Elvis?
Yeah. Let's talk about the Elvis one.
So in the first few hours, you're slapped around by the narrator. You move 2 steps forward, and he slaps you in the face. You pull your gun out, he slaps you in the face. He's just slapping you all over the place, being like, "Hey, let's just stop everything you're doing, and you're going to listen to me now for 3.5 minutes before you can take another step." Once you've gone through, a little bit of the tutorial, you're put into this flashback sequence where you're a baby animal, and you're introduced to. I think it's the next character, the first character you get introduced to in the game. And it's this Elvis mole impersonator character. And after an hour and a half of dealing with the narrator, I was already so frustrated by the time I got to this point in the game. And then they introduced this obnoxious character to you who doesn't speak the same confusing gibberish language as everyone else. He only speaks an Elvis language.
He does an Elvis impression.
That's all he does is an Elvis impression. And then you have the goddamn narrator translate that for you.
Yeah. I think he's like a friend of your mom after you escape the town. Sure. And then you have to feed a nut to the tree branch.
Yeah,
so he's like, go get a tree branch, and the narrator's like, he wants you to get a nut for the tree, and he's like, he just follows behind you. He sounds like the old you remember those beavers from Donkey Kong?
Yeah.
He sounds like one of those things. He just follows you around.
The first time you meet him, it's funny, and it's funny for a few seconds, and then it just keeps repeating the same over and over and over again for that like 5 or 6 or 7 minute sequence that you're in there. And I'm like, what is this? What are you doing to me, game? Why are you doing this? I was doing that. I was playing it, and my wife, like, she was in the other room, and she's like, what the hell is that noise that keeps repeating? She's like, are you doing that on purpose? And I was like, I'm not. I'm sorry. It's just happening. I can't do anything about this.
We should explain to the listeners too that he looks like Elvis. He has like a white jumpsuit on and a coif.
He's dressed like
glass. Elvis. He's an Elvis impersonator.
Yeah.
In this universe, Elvis exists and someone wants to be Elvis, or he is Elvis, one or the other.
I like to think he's the original.
Elvis is from the Bio universe and was like, I ripped off this gerbil that I found next to a tar pit. He was just walking around in a white jumpsuit going,
Honestly,
well, like,
you go.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
All right. Well, I was gonna say is that like my whole problem with it was that like we're getting flashbacks for an amnesia story too. Like we keep talking about how there's too much. We're also being told that stuff happened to us in the past, and we're the amnesic hero, which is the story that's being told.
Yeah.
The amnesic hero that through his quest remembers where he's from and becomes the hero that saves the world. You know, it's this big hero's journey with amnesia. We don't need any of the flashbacks, actually. We could just skip all of those because they don't progress your character. And if you already have a narrator that's telling you everything, just be like, yeah, you learned how to do this at Kung Fu Academy when you were 2. Go beat some dudes up. And I'd be like, all right. We don't need that part.
You're right. There's a much better way of exposition for the story, telling that story, especially given you have a voice acted narrator narrating the entire story. You don't need to play through the flashback. Yeah, there's a lot of times in games where they tell too much and don't let you play it. In this instance, it's probably the opposite. It's like, just tell me, don't let me play it. I don't need to play it.
Well, the Deku Nut doesn't affect the gameplay at all. When you go and get it, it doesn't really teach you anything besides the fact that there's a reason the tree is there.
I don't know. It's a mechanic though, right? Isn't it? It's just teaching you how to fetch a quest and return a quest. I thought that's
what you like video game 101.
I don't know. I think that's what the tutorial was teaching you. It's like, hey, this is how you get a quest. I don't
get a nut and then bring it back.
It's very basic, like fetch quest, but I just assumed that's what it was teaching me. I don't know. Otherwise I have no idea. I skipped over that guy so much because he was just talking nonsense and then he just kept making those noises. So narrator is on the hit list for me as like the worst thing in the game, and then the next worst thing in the game is the Elvis impersonator, which I know is a bit of a joke, but it's funny because George and I both brought it up. We were both like, when we started Elvis, the game, a couple of hours in, we're like, yeah, that Elvis guy, and we both mentioned it, which means like it's a thing.
We both just started going, but like we both, it's like the first thing I texted you on WhatsApp was like, I don't know about this game, man.
Yeah.
And you were like, Elvis, the narrator? I was like, yes. Like, what? But
yeah.
I don't know. I could get past Elvis. I like Elvis.
Okay.
The human Elvis.
Sure.
I could get past that. My issue, my next thing that I was really having issues with, was not understanding the game. Like, because I broke out my complaints between cons and nitpicks. Elvis is more of a nitpick for me.
He's a nitpick. Okay, let's go through. I haven't got a formal list of pros, cons. So let's start going through yours and we'll just discuss those. Because I think, I'll say if I agree or disagree. So let's start with the first one.
So like the first thing I wrote was that I was just confused a lot.
Yeah.
I'm
game always mechanics. Confused a lot, but yeah.
Game mechanics were confusing. Like, crafting, I didn't even try crafting until I was maybe 15 hours into the game to make better gear. Understanding the super attacks, I had no idea how to do it because you had to unlock special weapons. The tribes mechanic, like I sided with a new tribe and didn't realize it would lock me out of all the other outposts. I had to go back to the myriad outposts and reclaim all of them. There's a lot of stuff. Like when I unlocked the Mechton, you unlock it out of a crate and then you don't realize it's a summon that you can call from the drop-down menu. So I thought I couldn't go any deeper into the hypoxia zone until I unlocked the boat, which you summon.
The crate,
and I saw the Mechton on the side. I was like, wait, so I can breathe in the hypoxia zone? So let me just go back. Like there's so much of it is just like you could have laid this out in a way that makes it not like, why am I not instantly in the mech when I unlock it?
Mm,
You know what I'm saying?
mm,
Instead, I have to go back, talk to the guy again.
mm.
You know, why is the game presented in a way that makes it not as easy for someone to understand it? It's, especially when you're doing so much.
Yeah, it's absolutely convoluted in that sense as well. It's trying to do way too many things, and it's doing a bit of everything. Like we said at the start, it's got so many mechanics in it. You know, upgrade mechanics alone, it has 4 different types of upgrades. But not even.
Too many.
It's just too much to throw at someone. Those early hours of the game, you're just inundated with mechanics, and it's you know, normally in a game you get your baseline stuff, and then over time they slowly feed things to you. Whereas this one just dumps it all on you at the beginning, and then you do get fed a few more things as the game goes on, but it's just trying to be too many things. You know, I would say just try and be a really good third person shooter. Just try and be a really good hack and slash game with light RPG mechanics. Maybe remove a lot of those other systems in the game. I think I really didn't enjoy the mech thing. I thought it was just another. It's just an eye roll moment for me when it comes in, because you're like, really, another thing that I need to think about now. Why is this in here? Um, so for me, that's like another mechanic they add to the game. That's like, cool. That's another thing you guys have to figure out how to balance and make work in this game, when the stuff that should be the baseline already kind of doesn't quite work properly. I think it's super overwhelming, and that's what's so deceptive. The game has this childlike look to it. It's these cute characters. The the settings are all green. All the marketing and stuff for the game makes it look very accessible for younger gamers. But then when you get in there, you're dealing with 2 guys in their 30s who are just like, I don't know what's going on here. I cannot grasp this. And we've played hyper complex games before. We've played RPGs, JRPGs, probably some of the most convoluted trophy hunting games, and yet this one here for some reason doesn't make sense.
Right. There's just some very confusing mechanics as well. Like, you can persuade people because there's a charisma stat, but the stat also only, like, if you slot in charisma, it only improves your ability to barter. But there's no discernible reason to barter. I don't really understand why I ever would sell, because you need materials to upgrade and craft.
So
So
you
it's
just hold
better
on
to
to
just
everything.
break stuff down.
Yeah,
Hold on to everything and break it down. But there are options,
yeah.
like you could go through an outpost and not actually have to fight and persuade. But the game says there's a low chance of persuading through intimidation. And if you fail, -1 strength to your stats. And I'm like, wait, I can lose stats for just failing
So why would you do
a
that?
charisma check?
Yeah, why would
Why
you
would I
do it?
do that?
Yeah,
I
you
don't want
wouldn't.
to lose stats. Stats are precious. I can't lose those. You know, so like there's a lot, and like maybe it's only temporary, but I wouldn't dare do it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I could maybe make a backup save, but I wouldn't do it. So
yeah,
stuff like that. I mean, I've been gaming since Super Mario, man.
yeah.
And and I was just like, this is just way too much. Um, Now, because it was so much, my next con is that just there's a big repetitive nature.
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking about the types of quests. I mean, some of these like sewers, some of these layouts for dungeons are just reused. Like if you look at the way some of the bunkers are leading up, they have trenches dug out between some outposts. It's the exact same trench with the exact same room on the left hand side that has a chest on the inside left of it. It looks like a Control C, Control V right there, and you can perfectly navigate outposts you've never been to because they're exactly the same. Multiple outposts have go stir up 3 hornets
Mm.
nest. Multiple outposts have go in there, there's a prisoner stuck here, go in the next room and fight. You know, it's the exact same layout in the sewers, in some of the bio zone, like the rad zones. It's the exact same thing. And I mean, like, I get it. It could be similar, but it's nearly exact. And I was just like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I've already been here.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so that was like that was a big problem for me. Did you find that?
I haven't actually encountered that myself, but I wonder why you would do that. I mean, is it a way of extending the length of the game? But then at that point, why? Like the game's already quite bloated and already has quite a lot of content in there. Why bother replicating things like that to artificially extend it and make it more fetch questy? It doesn't need that.
Really doesn't. And then even some of the fetch quests are delivered in a way. I guess this goes back towards my confusion point, but like I talked to a guy outside of a campfire and he gave me a quest that had me go 6,000 meters away. I was like, why were you sending me across the world for this? Like, why? This is not even related at all. Like,
That's
why are we
very
doing this?
old school game design, where like you've got
Yeah.
to do one quest on this side of the map, then this quest over here, then go all the way back here, then you do the next quest over here. Very old school like JRPG RPG game design, where you're just moving from A to B, traversing the world. Like that's Grand Theft Auto 3, Grand Theft Auto 4 levels of game design. You know, a lot. We've come a long way since then in terms of just making it more accessible and friendly and fun, so you don't have to be doing that. It frustrates me so much when you get a mission like that and you're just literally just moving back and forth in this world. It's just frustrating.
Yeah. So my next point was kind of in the middle, but there were buggy trophies on launch. There were bugs trophies.
So I haven't
And
experienced
games
this, but
games like that piss me off.
yeah.
I get mad. I email devs. I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
fix your game.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I was I think Death Crown was the name of it. I was messaging them like, hey, fix your game. Because on launch you had people complaining about the day one patch busted some miscellaneous trophies.
Right.
And I think it was for the old world artifact. Someone will correct us in the comments. But now my positive updates rolling out quickly has fixed it.
Yeah.
But you know, just when a game rolls out and it's like, hey, are you playing the digital version with day one patch? Your trophies might break. I'm like, I don't want to play.
Yeah.
I don't want to play. You know, this is the Platinum Trophy channel. That's a big con for me. You know,
I think it's fair. I would have been in the same boat as you. I dabble in trophy hunting now. I'm not as big into it as I used to be, but 2 or 3 years ago, I would have not purchased the game if I was told that you can't earn the platinum at launch because the trophies are busted. I would have opted to not buy a game because of that. So I completely do understand that that perspective. My attitude towards it now is very different, but it's a valid point. 100% a valid point.
yes, when I'm launching a game up, and one of the first things I do is PSN profiles and just see what's going on.
Sure.
What are high unlocks? What are low unlocks? Does anything look busted? And what are people saying in the forums?
Things like that.
Yeah, yeah. How many hours do I expect to play this game? Like, because then I can allot my week out. I got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
And if someone's saying you're gonna get this plat in 35 hours, 15 with a guide, maybe I'll wait for a guide. You know, so. But then when you see people are saying, hey, bug, I've been searching forever. I can't find some of these items. I think this game is bugged.
Yeah.
And then other people are saying, absolutely, this is unachievable at this moment. I'm like, I don't know if I want to play this. Now, with all that, like at first I was like really low on how much I liked this game, but where I am now, I'm like in the middle. I'm like, yeah, like this is like with you saying this is a double A game, I'm like, oh, it makes sense. You know, a lot of things that bothered me, I chalked up to they were having a hard time getting the game out the door, and they just cut the budget out and said, well, you know, instead of getting a voice actor for everyone, like how they got a voice actor for the dark and light aura, instead of getting a voice actor for everyone, just get one old guy that lives down the street in that shed down there. Get him to record all these lines and just get it going. We've been trying to get this game out the door since 2017. And I'm like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I understand. I understand. So like, that's fine. If I paid $60 for this, I would lose it though. I would be mad.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I am.
Do you have many more points to go through?
Not on the cons. I have nitpicks though.
Let's go through the nitpicks, and then we'll give like a final sort of summary after that.
The gerbil language, like not the gibberish speak, the actual language, like the guns. When a gun is called like a shan flabby doozy, I'm like, what is this?
So that's the lore of the game, right?
Yeah, because for some reason they kept some words from English.
Yeah, but then they changed some stuff so you can get the
other random words. Yeah, you're shooting a shibbity woobity, and the sky is blue, and you're like, well, how do you have sky, but we have skibbly wibbly? You know, I'm like, I don't. And I was like, what kind of gun is this? Yeah, I'm over here because what I have to do now.
Wait, that's a Kraggle, right? And you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, yeah, Kraggle, two-handed blade weapon. Everyone knows that. Everybody knows a Kraggle rock is a two-handed mace.
Yeah, it's another weird disconnect where like the way the lore of the game is communicated versus the way just base mechanics are communicated to the player. Like saying to you, hey, this is a shotgun. You understand this is a shotgun as a player, even if in the game it's not a shotgun. You know what I mean? It still needs to be communicated like that in the menu system to you to say a craggle is a two-handed blade rather than just no, it's just a craggle. And you're like, okay, cool. So I'm gonna have to get a PhD in biomutant lore to
Yeah.
be able to understand this game.
Yeah, I installed Duolingo because it was like, it's like, because some special attacks have certain guns tied to them, and it was like a wibbity woobity,
Yeah.
or versus a shlam babilam.
Yeah.
And then to get the upgrade points to it, though, you need to go to pistol.
Yeah, and you need
To go to the
shillelagh,
upgrade
yeah.
tree. Yeah, to go to upgrade tree, it's melee weapons.
Yeah.
And you're like,
yeah.
oh, can you just tell me that? Can you just tell me the information I need to know? So like,
does that remind you of
especially in the middle of a fight?
Does that remind you? That reminds me of like PS3 era games. Like it reminds me of like old game design, not modern game design for some reason. To me, it
Like
screams of
Morrowind.
those mid-tier PS3 games.
Well, to me, it screams of just like opening up your quest log in Elder Scrolls Morrowind and being like, it was Dusk Star AD 2090, and the hermit crab had 4 gold nuggets, and you're like, this is a merchant 10 years ago. Is that what that is? Am where's my Brady game strategy guide?
You're like, wait, come again? What was that now?
You know, that's what I'm doing, that in the middle of a fight with a giant ferret wearing pajamas. I'm like, wait, I think I need my schlibbity dibbity, but hibbity hoobity. Where's my, that I dismantle my schlubba wubba? I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
So that I mean, that's a nitpick for me. I can navigate it, but it was a nitpick. Another one was this is real dumb. The light aura skill, the key lightning is light. It's a light skill. The one where you electrocute people to death is a light aura skill. And stuff like telekinesis and floating is a dark aura skill. Right. And it's opposite of the Jedi.
It just doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
It's the opposite. And I was like, okay, Darth Sidious is over here like, Anakin, he's killing me. You know, and or Palpatine, I mean, he's over there like, and shooting lightning. And then I'm like, oh, I need to save ferrets so I can shoot lightning out of my hand and electrocute people to death. It bothered me. And I know it's 2 different worlds, but it was just like, come on, man.
It's
everyone knows electrocuting animals to death is dark force, and floating freely is light force. Come on.
Yeah.
The glider is weird. Like, it doesn't work well. It's like you dip too far when you glide. Yeah. Like you jump and then you go really far down, then it pops open. So you don't actually glide very well.
Yeah.
I was just like, I find myself falling a lot, but I guess it doesn't matter because there's no fall damage.
That's another mechanic that probably doesn't need to exist.
The glider or falling?
Both. I mean, actually, to be honest, neither of them would really add or remove anything if they were removed from the game. So, again, another mechanic in the game that's just thrown in there for whatever reason.
Yeah, and then the water issue, like you just drown everywhere. Drowning. Now I don't that might be fixed later in the game. There might be a way to swim, but
yeah, I don't know if there is.
I have the boat.
I haven't found it yet.
I have the boat. And I have, but if you stand in a stream too long, you just die.
Yeah.
So it's just like
a real squirrel.
Yeah, it's like, these are animals. This is a otter. Just let them swim down the water.
Yeah.
Like, why am I drowning? And you're just like, and you can't even jump out of tar. You just sink. You become fossil fuel.
Right? Yeah, it is unusual. I don't know why. Normally it's like to try and hide something. They're like trying to hide a section of the map they don't want you to go to, but it doesn't seem like it's the case at all. It's just another like platforming obstacle to a degree, which doesn't, I don't know, again, another mechanic that...
Platforming? Well, you can unlock a skill that gives you a mushroom hop, which I don't know what it's for. But besides the trophy, I've seen enemies. I've dropped the mushroom on the ground, and the mini bosses will just stomp on it. So I guess it will distract people.
Yeah.
some of the skills I didn't even unlock some of the skills, like some of the key skills. I was just like, I don't need this.
Yeah.
I was like 16 points and you can slide down a ledge
Yeah,
with a
yeah.
turtle shell. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't need that.
There's a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, I was like, I don't really need that. That was, and then I do have Elvis Gerbil on my nitpick
Elvis
list.
Gerbils on your nitpick
I
list.
have
Okay.
Elvis Gerbil LMAO, and then in my overall conclusion, it just says double A and then price question mark.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, that's pretty much it then, right? That's essentially all there is. It's very much a, I don't know, the way I rationalize it for myself is by saying this is a double A game that's been priced incorrectly. It started its life as a double A game, it was developed as a double A game, and then they tried to elevate it to a triple A level game, but they might not have had the talent to do it, the money and the budget to do it, even the vision to do it. And as a result, we have this double A experience, which I think does a lot of stuff quite well and a lot of stuff not so well. I mean, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. I agree. My like when I was trying to think of a way to put it in just like a positive light, my idea was, or the way I thought it was like, this game could be great with some more editing. It would be a great game with some more editing. If you just got rid of half of this stuff, it'd probably be a lot better, you know?
It's like
Because it doesn't respect my time when you add repetitive stuff.
Yeah.
You know, some of the animations, like when you're marking your territory and you pee on a flag every time and you have to watch these silly animations, or when you cut to a Sifu and it's him doing the exact same video of saying, I'm going to get you. You captured my outpost, but I'm not going to give up. And then I see that video so many times that I'm like, why are these just gray backgrounds behind the Sifu?
Yeah.
Like, could you give these Sifus real environments? Like, if you're not going to put the effort in, you're not respecting my time. You know, and that's kind of my biggest issue with it. It's, you know, it's just like, figure it out, edit it down, and make it a good experience. Because like when you talk about double A games that are priced in, like Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is a double A game
Definitely
that I would have paid $60 for.
Yeah.
This is a $60 game that I would rather pay $40 for.
Yeah.
And they're both double A.
That's what it comes down to, right? They're doing too much in the game. They added too many mechanics, too many concepts, too many things in there, and they have everything. They have everything from Crash Bandicoot to God of War to Horizon Zero Dawn to Spider-Man, but they don't do any of them well, and that's the biggest issue. They don't have anything in there that you can take away and say, actually, guys, you've nailed this. This is the identity of the game. You've nailed it. I mean, apart from maybe the character design and that world
that's where
building,
it needs to be. Yeah, it needs to be honed in on making the characters, those characters, the narrator ruined it. And if those characters were fleshed out a little bit more and had their own unique personalities, like the main character, that it would really shine. Because the characters and it being its own thing that you make and the way they look, that's where the game shines.
Definitely.
Not in the Horizon ripoff, especially when you're climbing the yellow pegs and the climbing animation looks bad. It looks like bad Horizon because you're going peg to peg on a mountain with the same yellow paint that they've been using, but you shoot peg to peg in a weird way and there's no challenge behind it. You just hold up.
Yeah.
So it's like a lazy, a poorly done version of a different game's mechanic that we don't even need to see.
Yeah,
why are we doing mountain scaling? For a side quest? It doesn't need to be in here. Just let me fight big monsters, you know?
My hope for the game would have been that they'd eliminated a lot of those complex RPG mechanics, all of those additional bloated mechanics, and really just took it back to being a very simple third-person adventure game. Knowing where they sit. You know, if it has third-person shooting mechanics, that's fine. You've got your mage shooting, whatever it is, and then you've got your hack and slash mechanics, maybe taking a leaf from the original God of War franchise and having really good melee combat, or Devil May Cry style melee combat, and then, you know, pretty baseline third person shooting as well, but just doing it and getting it right instead of having just so much other stuff there. I think if they'd nailed that, it would have been just enjoyable to continue that basic gameplay loop the whole way through, and that would have been fine. If you were stuck in that, you know, there's a lot of stuff you can overlook. But when they when they miss the mark on so many of the other things, it's really hard for me to sit here and recommend the game to the audience and to the viewers.
Yeah. I can't recommend it at full price.
Yeah.
But I think if you are like me and you have a completionist mindset, meaning you need a game where you can do a lot of stuff and you don't care if it's kind of repetitive, and you like open world games, like Assassin's Creed is like that. It's very open and kind of repetitive.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
love those games.
Hmm.
I'm getting that vibe when I'm grinding through the side quests and the outposts. And so I can continue playing it. I do
Yeah.
plan to get the platinum on it. I plan to play the game all the way through, see everything, see the remaining boss fights, and unlock the rest of the map because I want to see where it goes from here.
Hmm.
But at this price point, I would not be happy with buying it. Now, if someone can get it at a more reasonable price, I would say try it out just for the characters, you know, except Elvis. But for the way the enemies look and the way some of the environments look, I would say you should try it out.
Yeah, I think I'm not gonna play it for the platinum. I'm not gonna probably finish it either. I don't think I'm gonna continue. I think where I've gotten to, I'm pretty satisfied with the amount of time I've spent on it. So that's where like you and I kind of differ, I suppose, on that one. But I stand by that as well. I think on a scale of overall score that we're going to give this game, I would say wait for a discount. I wouldn't say bypass it completely because I think it's interesting enough to check out. But I would say wait for a discount. That's probably my final score.
Yeah, I would agree, especially with the way that they are listening to people and updating the game.
Definitely.
They're I mean, this could be a No Man's Sky type
Yeah,
situation
could be.
where by the time you get it, it's going to be a steal. You know, by the time you do get the game, it's going to be updated and fixed so much that you're like, I can't believe I haven't already played this. That's how I felt about playing No Man's Sky a year later, you know. So,
It's also the kind of game I would expect just based on THQ in the past. They discount their stuff quite quickly. Destroy All Humans and SpongeBob both came out around this time last year. And you can pick those games up for like 15, $20 now when they're on sale. So I would expect give Biomutant a few months, maybe around Black Friday. You'll be able to pick this up maybe half price, maybe a little bit cheaper. And I think that's probably the right price point. And like George said, let all of us beta test it for you, get all the patches done, and it will probably be a much more playable game by then as well.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's our thoughts on Biomutant. Is there anything else to close off with, or is that it?
I mean, I guess we should tell people to tell us what they thought of the game in the comments, right?
Yeah, but it'll be good to hear if people have been excited about this game and they haven't checked it out yet. Be curious to hear sort of your thoughts or maybe why you haven't checked it out. If you have picked it up and you didn't like it, be good to know why. Or if you picked it up and you did like it and you had a differing opinion to us, it'd be awesome to hear what you really enjoyed about the game, what it was that won you over, if you experienced any of the same challenges that we did. I think it would make a really interesting discussion.
Oh, also, if you want me to do a plat review like I did for Knockout City, comment that
Yeah.
because I've been doing some research on these trophies. I think some might be missable. You're going to want to make some backup saves before the bosses. And then, just let me know if you want to see that.
So yeah, we could do that as well. But yeah, definitely let George know so that he knows whether or not it's worth investing the time in producing a video like that. Yeah, that's really all there is from me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. Thanks, George, for helping out with this review discussion for Biomutant. This is the first time we've done a TCS spin-off.
A TCS investigation.
Yeah, TCS.
I like to do this. I think
Investigation.
this would be fun to do more. What would you call this? A TCS special episode?
I just called it a
Yeah.
non-canon.
Non-canon? Yeah.
I don't know what we're going to call it. Maybe we'll come up with a name for the series. Maybe it's like a plus or something like that, or like plus ultra. I don't know. We'll come up with something.
Or, TCS. There's got to be. I was gonna say New Game Plus, but I think the completionist does that.
Yeah, I think he does as well. We'll come up with something though. Yeah, we'll come up with something that works. But yeah, definitely keen to continue this sort of long form review discussion type series as well. I think it makes sense to continue it. Do we release this instead of TCS this week, or do we do both?
I'm down to do a regular TCS as well. I mean, I just talk, and
It's easy for you.
I
Right?
do that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I just
Maybe-
I just talk.
Maybe we'll talk about it another time instead of on this recording. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate each and every one of you out there. If you're a new viewer, you haven't already subscribed, hit the subscribe button down below. Go and check out George's channel. His link is in the description down below. Leave a like to help this video get recommended in the YouTube algorithm. We'll see all you guys in the next one. Bye for now. Patrons, thank you so very much for each and every one of your generosity this month. You'll be seeing your names coming up here on the right hand side if you're a Patreon or a channel member on the YouTube channel this month. If you want to support me, if you do decide you want to support me further and help keep this channel's lights on, link in the description down below to become a Patreon, or you can click on the join button down below next to the subscribe button to become a channel member. Thanks, you guys, you're all legends.